Yeah, good. Go on.
Okay, excellent. So, Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Good evening. And thank you so much for joining us on this live stream on YouTube. And of course, for those of you who are watching a recorded version, thank you for tuning in. My name is Adil Salman. I'll be your host for today. So before we jump into the session, I just want to give a brief introduction about MMAC, about our organization. So MMAC, which is short for Malayali Muslim Association of Canada, is a community-led initiative. We cater to the Muslims hailing from the southern Indian state of Kerala who have migrated and have settled here in Canada, and also those who have come here for their studies in this wonderful country. We aim to provide information and content on cultural, socioeconomic, and religious aspects of life. But of course, our programming also extends to other communities and areas of social life. We strive to provide content and opportunity for everyone. So on that note, coming back to this session, I just want to give a quick thanks to the Government of Canada. They have graciously selected and sponsored us to take part in this initiative, which is known as CARE, or Cumulative Aid for the Resident Elderly. The purpose of this initiative is to provide support for our community elders and also for the visible minority here in Canada. So in keeping with the series of sessions that we have done so far, today's topic is about credit card fraud. And to help us get an insight into this topic, we are proud to have Sue Levine, who is the supervisor of the call center operations for the Canadian Anti-Fraud Center. So for those of you who may have attended our last session, CAFC's role in tackling fraud in Canada was highlighted quite a lot. So they are recognized as Canada's central repository for information about fraud. I'm sure that our presenter would also give a bit more information about the organization. So thank you, Sue, for taking the time to present for us. And just before I hand it over to you, just to let the viewers know, you can post your questions in the chat box on YouTube as the session is going. Once Sue has completed her session, we will jump straight into Q&A. So with that, over to you, Sue, whenever you're ready to take over.
Okay, well, thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure for me to be here with you this evening. I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen right away, and we'll get started. I'm hoping that that. Okay, so the presentation is on fraud prevention and based more on frauds that are affecting seniors. So I do have a little bit of an overview about the Canadian Anti-Fraud Center. So we are a joint forces operation led by the RCMP in partnership with the OPP and Competition Bureau of Canada. So we are the central repository for data. We collect information on mass marketing fraud, and that information gets shared with law enforcement in hopes of conducting, for them to conduct investigations, and the goal is to be able to arrest these fraudsters. So there are many methods that the fraudsters communicate to try to victimize people. And the top one is still, believe it or not, the telephone. So they do have different systems that they use to reach the public. And the one is automatic dialing. And that's a robocall, which is an automatic dialer that has a pre-recorded message. And the message is a robotic voice. Usually it could also be of a real person's. And what it says is it's utilized to fool people into picking up the line. So quite often it'll give a quick message that, you know, your credit card is being used for purchases, and we need to talk to you, and to contact, and they always give a number for you to call.
Sue, sorry to jump in between. I don't know if you realize the presentation is not full screen. So if you want to go ahead and make it full screen, that would be.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad that you've told me. Let me see how we can work this.
I think if you go into home, and then you should be able to go full screen. Or the other option is down at the right, there is an option for full screen. It's one of those buttons just right next to the Zoom scroll bar on the left-hand side.
On the left-hand side.
Oh, sorry, no, I mean to the left of the Zoom scroll bar.
Yeah, it's not giving me that option. Sorry. Okay. How about if I give it another try here?
Sure. Or you can actually stop the. Oh, yeah, I think that should be fine. Yes, that is perfect. Thank you, Sue.
Okay. Just not. It's not giving me my to get to the next slide. Yeah, so we were talking about robocalls. Now the caller ID spoofing is this is a tricky one, because they're calling from a different country, and the number that you're seeing on call display is a number that you could be recognizing. It looks like it's in your local area. All along, it's not the real number that they're using. And then the other trick that they use is the delayed disconnect, where they'll say this is your credit card company calling. They'll give the identify the credit card, and they'll say, if you don't believe me, hang up the phone and call us back. Call the number on the back of your credit card, and we'll continue on with this conversation when you do call us back. And people at that point are in a panic mode, and they'll hang up, pick up the phone, call back immediately the number on the back of the credit card, and all along the fraudster is still on the line. They never did disconnect the call, and it does that fraud very much catches people off guard. There's one way of preventing fraud by telephone is if you subscribe to the do not call list, and that's with the CRTC. That will minimize the amount of phone calls that do get through to your line, because anybody that's any legitimate telemarketing company do have to abide by this list. So at least, you know, if you're getting a call that is you don't recognize the number, chances are it is a fraudster. So my slide is not working out for me here. I'm just going to okay. So again, there's that spoofing tactic that is being utilized through frauds that is initiated by email and text messages. They can spoof an email where you think that it's coming from a family member, and all along that person's email was compromised. And this one is quite often used to fool people into sending money, or convincing people to that there's a government grant that's available, and they pretend that they're the person that you know, and they say, apply for it now, I'll send you the link, and I received $10,000 and I don't have to pay it back. And it's a very convincing type of scam, because everybody thinks that they're actually speaking to somebody they know, or a legit company. There are a large number of frauds, of course, that's online. And these are the tools that the scammers use to be able to reach out to the public. So the search engine optimization is when you're looking for information. So if you go on a search engine like Google and type in just a few keywords, it could directly bring you to a fraudulent website. So it's important to be able to, because the fraudsters do pay for this type of service, so it's important that you are able to recognize a fraudulent website if that does happen. And then the pop-ups are used to grab your attention, and they're known that to have a reputation as being annoying, distraction. So you try to close it and it'll keep popping up. And at that point, you could reach a boiling point where you just say, okay, I'm just going to do what they say so they can take it away from my computer. And that's when you're falling risk of falling victim to a scam. Then you have your online classified ads where they'll camouflage themselves under a popular brand name. And you could fall, for example, if they're selling puppies or rentals or vehicles, and they'll Lululemon or any type of brand name that they're selling, you could be falling victim to a fraudulent, counterfeit products by buying counterfeit products. And then so stolen credit cards is definitely where fraudsters will create accounts and websites, and they'll use stolen logos, information, and photos of people or merchandise that it's all stolen. So they'll place online orders using stolen credit cards to pay for it. So the best way to protect yourself is, before connecting to the internet, be sure to have your basic internet security enabled on your device. Do not access password protected accounts or share personal and financial information when connected on a public Wi-Fi. Enabling private or incognito browsing on your internet browser should disable browser history, search history, download history, cookies, temporary internet files. Disable cookies and delete your browsing history whenever it is not required. Use a search engine that doesn't collect your personal information, doesn't store your search history, and doesn't track you in or out of private browsing. So avoid selecting paid results after running an online search, and verify that the contact information you have found is legitimate by completing a secondary search on the information itself. Right? Because there's no technology or security company that will warn you of a potential virus. If you're getting a pop-up, chances are that it is definitely a scam. So they don't warn you that way. The safest method to exit a pop-up is to do so in your task manager. So for computers, you hold down the Control-Alt-Delete on your keyboard, and you select Task Manager, and you'll locate the appropriate process, select and click End Task. So if you're unable to exit the pop-up, proceed with a forced shutdown of your device. And then regularly scan your devices for viruses or malware. So the 10 most popular websites or applications in Canada are Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Pinterest, Twitter, Snapchat, LinkedIn, Reddit, Twitch, and Tumblr. So even dating websites and applications are included with this contact method. Of course, the fraudsters create fake accounts. They'll use stolen photos, information from legitimate people. Most recently, Facebook did announce that's actually in 2019 that it removed 2.19 billion fake accounts from their platform. And social media bots, they're a type of bots that uses fake accounts to automatically generate and amplify specific messaging, such as advertising and fake reviews. So when fraudsters gain access to social media accounts, they also gain access to all the information associated to the account. So if they find compromising information or photos of the victim, they may blackmail them. Additionally, they'll likely impersonate the victim to attempt fraud. So you've got to be really, really careful on what is being put out there in the public. Advertisement fraudsters recognize that consumers spend a lot of time on social media and will post ads for free trials, discounted merchandise, or fake job opportunities. They may also use the names and photos of well-known individuals or companies to fake endorsement of their products. So then you have always your regular mail system where you could receive fake letters in the mail, thinking that, for example, the government of Canada, during tax time especially, it's always seemed to go out very often. So again, if it's asking for personal information, do contact Revenue Canada to double check to see if that's them that sent out those letters. Or if they're asking for you to send money, or even to call a phone number on the letters. Never call that number. Do your research first before contacting anybody. So this is pretty much the top 10 frauds that we've documented that seniors tend to, where there's the largest dollar loss for seniors. So the romance, as you can see, is $7.3 million in 2020. And following in second place is the service scam at 6.5 million. And then your third is 6.1 million. So I'm going to touch on some of these scams throughout the slide. So the extortion is one of the most common scams, where you'll get a phone call saying that it's, for example, Revenue Canada or Service Canada calling, your SIN number has been used for illegal activities, and you will be charged if you don't call us back, or if you actually pick up the line and you talk to somebody on the phone immediately. They'll say that you have to send them money to correct the damages that were done. And they'll start by asking you for your personal information right away as well. We have the romance scam, where you meet somebody online and they will develop a relationship. Quite often it's a long-term relationship. It could take months and years before you even become a victim to that scam. And they become very believable, and they play on your emotions. And then at one point they will say that they've gotten into a car accident, and they would like for you to send them money to help them out. They can't access their bank accounts right now, and they'll pay you back right away. And it's hard not to want to help somebody that you're in love with. And then it continues. Once they see that they've received funds from you, they don't stop. They'll come up with more and more excuses for you to send them money. So it's very important not to fall too quickly to somebody that you meet online. It's try to have them meet you in person in a public place. And if you see that they're always coming up with excuses that they can't meet you, then it's a red flag. And especially with COVID now, they've got that excuse, good reason why they don't want to meet in person. So it's making it more and more believable for people to fall victim to this scam, unfortunately. With this service scam, the one that's very common is if you get a pop-up and it says this is Microsoft and your computer's infected, and we'll take out, contact us and we'll clean it out for you. And of course, there's a service fee attached to that. And they'll usually ask to get access to your computer. So it's really important not to give anybody access to your computer over the phone. Another one is the credit card companies. You may get a phone call looking like it's from their legit company that you're dealing with, and they're going to offer you a low interest rate. And usually these interest rates are very much lower than what the going rate is with the banks. And so again, if it's too good to be true, it's not. So the best thing to do is just not to just tell them that you're not interested and hang up. And then if you're really curious to see if it's actually your credit card company calling, again, you wait at least 10 minutes before picking up the line and give them a call back, call the number on the back of your card and inquire there. Then you have your home repairs and products where they'll sell you furnaces and or water filters. The best thing to do is not to allow anybody in your house to inspect your items. Do your research. Tell them that you'll take their information and look into it. And at that point, really look up the information. Contact the company if they're offering you lower rate on hydro. Then make sure that you call Hydro to see if they're affiliated with them and if they've heard of them, and usually they're pretty, or any other company that they're pretending to be. So victims often lose most or all of their money to the investment scam. Investors run the ad of risking also to lose their identity. So how the scammers will convince you to invest is they'll convince you that they're going to provide you with a much bigger profit if you invest a small amount of money. And again, it's really inflated. So that is one red flag. You should not provide personal and financial information. They'll also they're so good at what they're doing that they'll even show you that they're a platform. They'll say, well, hook onto your computer and I'll show you if you invest this is in this platform, then this is the amount that you'll get in return. And they'll have people message say, yes, I've received this much. And they may even have somebody that you know and have given them a certain amount of money back with a large profit, and that one person will recoup many more of their friends into the scam, and then all their friends get that scam. So it could happen that way as well. Phishing emails and smishing text messages are techniques designed to trick the victim into thinking that they're dealing with a reputable company. So what the message will direct you to click on a link for various reasons, like update your bank account, unlock your account, or accept a refund. So the goal that the fraudster is after is to steal your personal information and even steal all your money. So do not open or click on a link with an email that you haven't, it's unsolicited, or text messages. One red flag is look for spelling and formatting errors. Verify the hyperlink behind the link's text or button by hovering over the text. Do not click on any suspicious links as they can contain malware. So the bank investigator is where you'll get a phone call from a fraudster saying that your bank account is, there's some fraudulent activity going on in your bank account. This is your bank calling, and we're here to try to capture the criminals and get your money back. But what we need from you is some help. So are you willing to help us? And of course, you're in a panic mode, and anybody, is very concerning. So at that point, they're very good at convincing you. And for the most part, victims will fall into this trap. And then they'll have you transfer your funds into another bank account. And unfortunately, you could risk losing all your money. So again, if you're getting a call from anybody, it's important to double check the number that's calling and call your bank back instead of answering that call. Spear phishing is one of the most common and most dangerous attack methods currently used to conduct fraud, and it's usually on businesses and organizations. So in preparation of a spear phishing attack, fraudsters take the time to collect information on their intended targets so they can send convincing emails seemingly from a trusted source. Fraudsters will infiltrate or spoof a business email account. What they do is they create a rule to forward a copy of incoming emails to one of their own accounts. Then they comb through these emails to study the sender's use of language and look for patterns linked to important contacts, payments, and dates. And then the fraudsters launch their attack when the owner of the email account cannot be easily contacted by email or by phone. If the fraudsters haven't infiltrated the executive email account, they may set up a domain similar to the company's and use the executive's name on the account. So the contact information they need is often found on the company's website or through social media. There's a common variations where a top executive requests that their accounts payable to make an urgent payment and close a private deal. A business receives a duplicate invoice with updated payment details, supposedly from an existing supplier or contractor. Or an accountant or financial planner receives a large withdrawal request that looks like it's coming from their client's email. Or payroll receives an email claiming to be from an employee looking to update their bank account information. And then the prize scam is where you get an email or a phone call even from a reputable company, like let's say Reader's Digest, and they say you've been selected as a winner to our with our company, and where you're going to get a prize. But before we can send it to you, we're going to need you to pay some upfront fees like taxes or so they come up with all kinds of different excuses for you to have to send them money before you can claim your prize. And of course, the key is if you haven't entered a lottery or a sweepstake, you haven't purchased a ticket, then that's where it's an indication that it's a scam. The emergency scam is very common for grandparents to fall victim for this scam. Quite often it's a phone call that you'll receive, and it's usually late at night, and the voice will sound broken, and the person on the other end will say that it's your grandson or granddaughter, and that they've been in a car accident and they don't sound like themselves because their nose is broken, and they're being charged with impaired and they need help. And then somebody else will get on the line immediately and say, this is the police, and you need to send us some bail money to help your grandson or granddaughter. And of course, it continues on from there. And so it's important that if for seniors especially, is to set up perhaps a password amongst your family members. Say if ever, this way you can ask the fraudster, well, what is my dog's name? Or, and the whole family would know that password. And if they don't know, that's a good way to catch them. Also, if you do ask them more questions, like where are you calling me from? Where did the accident take place? They're not usually that well prepared to answer these questions, and they'll just hang up. And then you know it's a scam, and make sure to call, to appease your peace of mind, is to contact your family members right away. Quite often somebody you'll try to tell them, well, I'm going to make sure it's it's my grandson or granddaughter. So give me your number, I'll call you back. And they won't let you off the line because they know that you'll be able to find out right away. So they'll come up with very good excuses, and they're very good at what they do. And it's a very scary situation for anybody to go through. So it's better to be prepared and make sure that you're abrupt with them as well, so that you can get to the bottom of things, right? So it is estimated that less than 5% of all fraud is reported to the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre. So this information is based on information obtained through investigations, bank seizures, studies, and unfortunately, the victims of fraud, they may suffer financial and emotional abuse, and even medical problems relating to their victimization. So that's one reason why we figure that people are not reporting as much as they should. But they're not alone, as millions of people are victims of fraud every year. And so it's really important to report fraud. It does really help us do our part in helping law enforcement determine where these frauds are taking place, what kind of frauds are taking place, and who's being a victim, and how are they falling victim to these scams, so that we can better prevent fraud by doing what we're doing today is one of our fraud prevention initiatives. We do presentations, and we do bulletins we will send out to partners, and we communicate with banks and credit card companies. And so it's really, really important to report fraud. Quite often, the victims are ashamed, and they feel that the scam was so easy to detect. They don't understand why they've fallen victim to that scam, but it's catching the person at the right time. So you never know when anybody can fall victim to these scams. You never know when it could happen, right? They also have the perception that no one will believe them, or that law enforcement won't do anything about it because they don't investigate. But unfortunately, that is not the case. Not all scams are being investigated at that time, but by providing the information, just even an email address or a website that's being reported could link to another file that's already undergoing investigation with the RCMP. Also, they have fear that a family member will take control of their finances. So quite often as well, they don't even know that they're a victim of fraud. So, even if you're unsure, if you would contact our Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre and ask, I've got this call and it sounded bizarre. Is this a scam or not? We could provide you with more details on exactly what the scam was and what to do. And, if whether or not that you've fallen victim to the scam or not. And also, a lot will say, well, what's the point of reporting? I've lost my money. I'm not going to get it back. It may be the case, yes, but again, it is very helpful to us and to law enforcement to report all scams, whether you're going to get your money back or not. So if you are a victim of fraud, the best way to do before reporting it is you gather your information that pertains to the fraud. And then you contact your two major credit bureaus to obtain a copy of your credit report. You review the reports. That would be Equifax and TransUnion. Report your incident to the local law enforcement. Also report the incident to the CAFC through our fraud reporting system, or you can call us at toll free at 1-888-495-8501. Make sure you review your financial statements and notify the affected agency if you notice any suspicious activity. Contact your credit card companies. It's important to change your passwords to your online accounts. If you suspect that your mail has been redirected, notify Canada Post right away. It's one way of knowing if your mail's been redirected. If normally you get specific letters in the mail on a regular basis and all of a sudden you're not, that's an indication. Yeah. You should also, if let's say your SIN number has been compromised, you accidentally gave it to a fraudster, contact Service Canada. If you've given out your passport information, make sure you contact Passport Canada. So do contact the federal department, whichever piece of identification that was compromised, okay? So our hours of operation are Monday to Friday, 10 a.m. to 4:45 Eastern time, except for federal statutory holidays. So if you're going to report through our online system, you would not need to use a GC key account or a sign-in partner. So both methods allow you to communicate securely with the Government of Canada. And what you do is create your own unique username and password for a GC account. Oh, well, that is the end of my presentation, and I'm hoping that I've taught what it is that you were looking for in this presentation, and I'm available for anybody that has questions now. And I thank you.
Thank you very much, Sue. I accidentally just minimized my Zoom, so I'm not able to access the connections. Oh, okay, perfect. There you go. Excellent. Thank you very much, Sue. It was really insightful. It was a really good presentation that gives us an insight into like all the issues about fraud that we have to be aware of, especially when we are using credit card information online and so on. I really hope that it was educational for the senior community as well, that they would take note of. I guess we can jump straight into Q&A. There are a couple of questions that we had received through the online form. The chat box is empty, except that there is a comment that says, there's a new one that's going on. It says that you have a parcel that's come from the Border Service Agency, has got some illegal items, and they're going to come and arrest you. So if you want to talk to our officer, press 1. Is that something you'd like to comment, Sue?
Yeah, that's their tactic for you to pick up the phone, and then that's an identity theft.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. It's anybody, that any call that you get that is threatening is it's an indication that it's a scam. So you're better not to pick up the call.
Mm-hmm. Understandable. Excellent. Okay, so I guess we'll just jump to the questions that I have on file. So let me see. Let's see. The first one is.
Excuse me.
Oh, bless you. The first one is, what is the process after we report fraud? Does the RCMP help in recovering losses, or does it need to be taken up with the bank?
Yes. We always advise consumers to contact their financial institution immediately if they're a victim of a scam.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so basically like the bank will take up the rest of the process, I suppose.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So it's all depending on which scam is being reported, but the banks do all have a fraud prevention process in place, or they do have policies to perhaps be able to refund some money lost. So it's all depending on the banks and what their policies are.
Okay. The next question that I have here is there any new type of credit card fraud that has been reported recently, such as due to COVID-19?
Yes, there's quite a few new frauds, such as cleaning or heating companies where they'll offer duct cleaning services or air filters to protect from COVID-19. So for most of these, they have different payment method requests. But of course, their preferred method is a credit card, so they can take their money right away. You also have your local provincial hydroelectrical power companies where they're threatening to disconnect your power for non-payment. That seems to be more since COVID. It seems to have gone up in the number of calls that are being given out there. There's the Centers for Disease and Control Prevention of the World Health Organization. They're offering fake lists for sale of COVID-19 infected people in your neighborhood.
Right.
Yeah, so there's quite a few scams related to COVID-19. There's even private companies that are offering fast COVID-19 tests.
Right. Yes, I suppose that we have to be wary of the different ways that scammers are utilizing the current scenario and trying to fraud unsuspecting people, I guess.
Oh yes, they really know how to play on people's emotions and utilize the situation at hand for sure.
Right. Thanks for that answer, Sue. The next question that I have, but I think you already touched upon that lightly. What protections do banks generally provide for credit card scams?
Again, it's the best to because I don't work for the bank, so they're if they update their policies, I wouldn't be aware of what it is that they're offering. So it's always good to communicate with your bank.
I'm guessing that like different banking institutions would have different policies and different protections in place.
I would think so, but I'm not sure about that. The Canadian Bankers Association would be best to answer that question.
Okay, thanks for that, Sue. The next question that I have, I'm just checking if there's anything in the chat box as well. Nothing yet. Okay, so coming back to the questions in the firm, I read that the CAFC and the National Cybercrime Coordination Unit are working on a new reporting system. Can you give a bit more info about that?
Sure. So the NC3 and the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre work closely due to the strong links between fraud and cybercrime. So at this point, Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre is more focused on mass marketing fraud, as to NC3 is more geared towards the cybercrime aspect of fraud. But to make it easier for Canadians and businesses to report cybercrime and fraud, NC3 and the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre are developing a new reporting system. So we're hoping that this new reporting system will be fully in place in 2023 or 2024.
Is that something that's going to be done through the website, or are they going to develop an app which we Canadians can use?
It will be the same type of idea of what our FRS system is like now, where you will log into the site and apply your passwords and yeah.
Right. Okay. Excellent. And I just have one more question. So what can we do when credit card fraud has happened through a website? Do we still contact the police?
Yeah, always, if you've been scammed, report the fraud to police. You can also report fake websites to the FTC. So the best way to deal with credit card fraud online is to call your credit card company right away.
And just to get clarification, what does the FTC mean?
They're with the Bureau of Consumer Protection.
Right. Okay. Okay. So that is something that we can find online and we can report to them as well.
Mm.
Excellent. There are no more questions on the form, and there doesn't seem to be anything else in the chat. I just had something that just came to mind because being a technology enthusiast, I think there's a sort of scam where people can read using credit card readers while they are going on a busy subway or while they're walking down the street. Is that something that has been reported quite often in Canada with the CAFC?
I've heard of it.
Hmm.
I don't think that we're getting too many reports on that type of scam, because mostly we document is mass marketing, where scams are being done over the phone or online.
Right.
Um, yeah, but it does exist.
Hmm. I guess it goes to show, I mean, it just basically shows the fact that, as you said in your slide, there's only like less than 5% of the total scams that are happening in Canada that is being reported to the CAFC. So a lot of them is not getting reported as well. So I guess the point that we have to take from this is that if any fraud has happened, please report to the CAFC
And to your local police for
and to
sure.
your local police for sure.
Yes.
Yes. Excellent. I don't have any more questions. And that's also the end of the questions from the chat as well. So I guess we can wind up. It's probably only 10 minutes early. Thank you again, Sue, for the presentation and also for taking the time for this program. I believe that it is really educational, and I'm sure the elderly community has also benefited from this. So I just want to thank you and the CAFC for taking part with this initiative. And also to the viewers, thank you so much for your continued support of MMAC. We still have a couple of programs coming up as part of the CARE initiative, so please do stay tuned. That's all we have for this session. Thanks again, everyone. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Bye-bye, everyone. Assalamu
Okay.
alaikum.